Hey everyone, it's the effing podcast. I'm your co-host here, Nick Harrington.
I'm Bowen Belmer.
If you can please do us a huge favor, please like and subscribe to us wherever it is you're listening to us. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Also, go ahead and find us on Instagram and give us a follow. You can find us at the F1NG podcast. Please enjoy. All right, welcome everyone. Episode 2 of the effing podcast. Bo, glad to be back. Glad we made it for 2 weeks here.
Yeah, I mean, we got re-signed. Our contract got re-upped for another week.
Yeah, we're on a week-to-week basis right now.
That's huge for us.
Today's episode, we have some huge breaking news that just struck today. Daniel Ricciardo is back in F1. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Silverstone and break down everything that happened there. And then we'll get everyone on their way out of here. But, Bo, let's start off here.
Do you know what today was like for me? You know when you wake up, it's December 25th, and you're also Jewish, so you celebrate Christmas.
Jewish?
No.
Oh.
But I'm painting a picture for you.
Yeah.
You wake up, it's December 25th, it's Christmas morning. You're also Jewish. I think Hanukkah's still going on to December 25th. Cut this out if it's not. So you're getting Christmas presents, you're getting Hanukkah presents. Oh, and it's your birthday. That was today for me in F1 news.
And magically fireworks are going off in the background.
And it's also the 4th of July.
And you also see Santa Claus at your house.
That was today.
For anyone that's an F1 fan that's been living under a rock today, Daniel Ricciardo is back in F1. This might be the most exciting thing that's happened, I think, for any new fan that's been in F1 for the last 3 years, to see Daniel Ricciardo is back in a seat in F1.
And not only in F1, in an AlphaTauri seat, which is specifically why I'm so excited about it. You know, we made the joke last week. We literally said R.I.P. Nick DeVries as a joke, and it's a lot less funny now. It's still funny, but
no, it just shows what we know. You know?
And that's true. We are premonitionists.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word, but with all due respect to Nick DeVries, He is obviously a very talented driver. He made it to Formula One. I have no doubt that he will get signed either by another team in another professional series or maybe as a reserve in F1. He would not be the first Red Bull driver to be cut and end up successful. Cough Gasly, cough Albon.
Yep. Nick DeVries, you had a good run. You made it 10 races in the season in F1, which is 10 more impressive.
Than we have made it so far in our driving career.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's pretty good.
I kind of thought, like, this news broke this morning. It was one of those things where, you know, like the 7 stages of guilt or of coping. The first one is always like, you don't believe it. You're always in denial.
Yeah.
That's how I was when I saw that news break this morning. I'm like, no, this had to be fake. This couldn't be real. And then like I see like another tweet, another like thing on Reddit. And it's like, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
He's back.
I mean, people have been talking about this for weeks. And this is where F1 is so interesting. I swear things get memed into existence in F1. More than any sport I've ever seen. Like, things get memed into existence, and this feels like one of those things. Like, this feels like week 3, DeVries is still, bottom of the grid. People start, chirping a little bit online.
Yep.
Then you start seeing pictures come up online, and then it just slowly divulges, and now it's reality. And, Danny, a.k.a. the Honey Badger, a.k.a. Disco Dan, a.k.a. the most American driver on the grid, despite the fact that he's from Australia. It's so exciting. It really is.
I think it's so good for the sport. I think it's so good for the casual fan, too. I think I mentioned this last episode, but Daniel Ricciardo was my first love in F1. I think he's just about anyone that watches episode 1 of Drive to Survive. You're like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And he's had a wild ride in F1, going from team to team to team, struggling at McLaren last year, not getting a seat, being a reserve driver for Red Bull, now getting the chance to get back in a car. It seems like he kind of needed this break, kind of like needed to reassess, take the pressure off of himself, kind of start over fresh to then now have this chance to really give it one last go and see where it happens.
That's what's so exciting about this is he has nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Like, he's on
one of the worst team.
No, he's on the worst team. I hate to say it. He's on the worst team in arguably the worst car, and he's making a comeback. I mean, he has nothing to lose. He is going to drive his ass off.
Yeah.
And it's going to be awesome because there's nothing for this dude to lose. What? Okay, he doesn't finish the end of the season strong and he ends up exactly back where he was before, out of the sport.
Big whoop.
Big whoop. Yeah, he's had a great career regardless. What I can't wait for, and what I have not seen anyone speak about, I mean, Piastri. Ricardo is coming for that ass. Right? I mean, for those who don't remember, last year over the summer break, that's where all of that breaking news went down, all the contract swapping and misrepresentations of contracts between Alpine and McLaren, which ultimately led to Piastri being signed to McLaren and Ricardo finding out he was out of a seat with a handful of races remaining. There's got to be a little bit. Danny doesn't strike me as like a guy who holds a grudge.
He seems like the guy that doesn't hold a grudge, but deep down, he's holding it. I feel like he only has one emotion at all times, which is just joy and happiness. Even if his like dog dies, he's gonna be like, yeah.
He's not gonna be like smiling
crying
through a funeral, right?
Yeah.
But
you know that eat him up inside.
Piastri, though, a little bit's got to be quaking in his boots, no? And by the way, coming off of a really great week for Piastri, and we'll get into that. And this is not a slight at Piastri.
No,
it is more of a fuel point for Ricardo that I'm not really hearing people talk about.
No, and I think what I think might be interesting with this too. Well, Daniel Rick, he did some test driving for Pirelli today in a Red Bull car at Silverstone. I just saw that his lap times were good enough to put him on the front row of the grid in that Red Bull. It was his first time driving that Red Bull all season. That's a really good sign for Daniel Ricciardo and just his ability as a driver. Checo Perez has been really struggling this year. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, too, but he missed his 5th or 6th straight Q3 appearance. He didn't even make it out of Q1 this year, which has happened 3 times to him.
It was his 5th Q3 miss in a row. Yeah.
There's a world where we might see DR3 back in a Red Bull if Checo Perez does not continue, or if he continues to struggle the way he is.
So here's a good question. Who is next in line for that seat if they were to make that AlphaTauri Red Bull swap? Is it Danny Ricciardo or is it Yuki Tsunoda?
I honestly, though, I don't think that they would ever put... I would love a world where Daniel goes back to Red Bull to replace Checo.
Sure.
I don't think that'll happen. That's kind of like a pipe dream I think a lot of people have. I feel like Red Bull's system is always to bring up young, talented drivers, give them an ability or put them in a position to be that P2 driver. I think they'd rather have someone that is an up-and-coming driver in their system go into Checo's seat before they move Yuki or Daniel up there.
Oh, you think Yuki wouldn't fall under that category? You think like a Liam Lawson or like somebody else in the Red Bull Academy?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's kind of where my thoughts go right away. Would I like to see someone else in there besides that? Fuck yeah.
What's funny is I think your feelings about seeing Danny work his way back up to that Red Bull seat is like my feelings about seeing Yuki work his way up into that
Probably,
seat.
yeah.
Like to me, I'm looking at this like, okay, Ricardo's obviously great. I'm super excited about it. To me, it is mostly a PR play to have him back in that AlphaTauri seat. And unless if he really lights the world up, I'm not convinced he'll be in it again next year.
I think it's a huge PR play.
But it's awesome. I don't want to downplay how awesome it is, but I still think that like if I were to rank the odds of who would maybe replace that Checo spot, I still think it would be Yuki.
I think it'd be Yuki over Daniel.
But I do see the side of maybe it's just not in the cards for my boy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This is also a great opportunity for Yuki, though, because Danny is Danny. We've referred to Daniel Ricciardo.
DR3.
Yeah, with
Danny.
15 different names.
Yeah, Ricky.
Honey Badger. He is a seasoned and proven driver, right? So, like, I think when De Vries first came in to F1 this year, there was a lot of talk of, okay, well, this is going to be what shows us if Yuki Tsunoda is a great driver or not. And it ended up not really being that because De Vries just for whatever reason couldn't figure it out.
Yep.
This is now really the opportunity to say, okay, we're putting him same car against somebody that we know has a proven track record as a number 1 driver. I mean, even at McLaren last year, I would say Ricciardo was the number 1
I think he
over
was
Lando,
too.
right?
Yeah,
So this is going to be eye-opening for 50 different reasons.
Agreed.
And I cannot wait for Hungary.
I saw, it's going to be super fun just to see him back on the grid. He brings so much to the sport beyond just racing. And I agree with you. I feel like this was a big PR push. But also, man, like, I'm just ecstatic. You know, I think everyone in F1 woke up with a little smile on their face today seeing that he's back on.
Yeah, you have a huge dump in your pants if you're not excited about this dude being on the grid. I'm sorry. But, like...
Have you ever met someone that's like, no, I hate Daniel Ricciardo?
No.
Like, I don't think you can hate the guy.
No one...
But people might be like, yeah, I'm kind of neutral towards him, but no one's like, I don't like that guy.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true. I completely agree.
I did see a funny tweet today. If you can follow this along, Daniel Ricciardo replaces Nick De Vries, who replaced Pierre Gasly, who replaced Alex Albon, who replaced Brendan Hartley, who replaced Carlos Sainz, who replaced Danny Kvyat, who replaced Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
So
it's like
it
reminds me of, have you ever seen the NFL jersey of the Browns quarterbacks where the person has all the name slots and there's like they just keep adding names and there's like literally 30 names on it. Hang on, I'll pull it up on screen and we'll drop it into the episode. But
yeah, it's the AlphaTauri Toro Rosso Circle of Life is what this is really turned into.
One of these guys.
Yeah,
this is but it loops back around to Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here. All right, let's switch gears here a little bit to Silverstone and what happened this past weekend. I think it was a much more interesting race than I even anticipated, and we kind of thought it was going to be pretty action packed.
Yeah, I think.
Can you go over the highlights really quick?
Yeah, I mean, Verstappen. Well, the big topic I would say for this one is going to be McLaren coming basically out of nowhere to go second and fourth, with Lando scoring his first podium of the season, Oscar Piastri driving fourth and finishing fourth. Lando finished fourth in Austria. Those new upgrades that McLaren rolled out, we've really seen them come to life this race now that Oscar Piastri has his upgrades. Lando got a little bit more of an upgrade, and it sounds like they're not finished yet. Mika Hakkinen, the race director for McLaren, said that by the end of the season, they will be competing with Red Bull at pace. And this came out maybe a month ago when he said that. I remember seeing this being like, this guy's like,
no shot.
What world does this man live on? This is a team, I don't think they scored points their first 3 races to then go second place, fourth place. Lando was leading this race for 5 laps and was pulling away from Max. I mean, like, the recovery that McLaren has done, the trajectory they've set the rest of their season up, like, that's the big thing that came away from this race.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, we just got a off-camera fist bump by producer Jake because he's now a massive Lando Norris fan after discovering that his name was Lando and not Landon last week.
Yeah, Lando's my guy.
Okay. Yeah, shout out Lando. No, you're absolutely right about that. That was really the story of this weekend. And So coming off of the jump, so for anyone who didn't watch, literally at lights out, incredible move by the two. Piastri essentially positioned himself inside of Verstappen so that he blocked him out from taking the best possible line, which enabled Lando to make that pass going into, I believe it was right into turn 1.
Yeah, turn 1.
The crowd reaction when that happened was unbelievable. Like, it was, I mean, those cars are loud, right? So it's not like you're hearing... It's not like a football game or a college football game where you're hearing chants, you're hearing everything. You heard it, man. Like, they were so excited.
That place erupted. I mean, a British driver leading the British Grand Prix. Okay, one thing, my biggest gripe with Silverstone, I think it's one of the best tracks in the circuit. I love, like, the energy that it always brings.
Sure.
The announcers, I mean, obviously, like, F1's a very British sport. It's the longest running Grand Prix on the calendar. The Martin Brundle, and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head, the broadcasters, they have the biggest boner for Silverstone of all time.
Yeah.
Every corner, like, oh, this is the best corner on the grid.
Yeah,
this is the best corner on the calendar. The fans here are the best fans in F1. It's like, okay, we get it. You're British. But I will say, I've heard this talk a lot where if Max was just removed from F1, we would have such an exciting battle on our hands for who would be that new team and that new leader and that new best driver right now.
Yeah.
And now that McLaren enters this mix, the amount of energy that was on the first 5 laps was insane. Like, that's like why I feel like why we love F1 is because of other teams that have a chance of like coming in and winning and someone else leading the race. The energy was insane that first 5 laps.
Yeah, for 5 laps.
Yeah.
Think about that. It was only 5 laps, and it completely changed the energy of the sport for that moment.
Yep.
Which is such a good indicator of where we could be heading. If I was gonna say well, if either Max slows down or other teams figure it out. Obviously, I would love to see other teams figure it out. I don't want to see the fastest car get less fast. I want to see everyone else get more fast.
Yeah.
Right? So I also saw, I'm trying to find the actual tweet, but I saw there was a comment that was basically, it was from Lando making a comment, something along the lines of, he's sometimes not British enough, but then of course, like, people are like treat him like he's not British enough. But then, like, when something like this happens in Silverstone, he's the man.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention not just that first pass at lights out, but he actually had pole briefly at the end of Q3. And then Max ended up setting, of course, fastest lap as his last lap, as one does, as we come to know from Verstappen pretty much every week. But that was the other point where he actually held pole briefly.
Provisional pole.
Yeah, and after time had expired, so it was, everybody who had started their rolling lap was now on their last lap. That is too when everyone went crazy because they realized, like, holy crap,
there might be a chance that Lando starting P1
there's a chance,
yeah. I think overall, like, this was such a big race for McLaren. I think Piastri has kind of been the guy that's gotten forgot about with all of this. He's a rookie who was driving in third for most of this race. And had it not been for that late safety car, he would have podiumed.
Yeah,
he would have been on the podium.
It was essentially an unlucky yellow, unlucky safety. He pit too early.
Yep.
Safety car comes in, allows everyone else to pit without having to basically in a no pass zone. It's essentially a free pit.
Yeah,
and that's really where he lost the ground to Hamilton. It's super frustrating. Yep. I feel for the guy.
Same.
Just to kind of run down the list. So of the finishes, obviously we had Verstappen at 1. We had Norris, and by the way, he only finished about 4 seconds behind. This wasn't a 23-second blowout.
No.
Yeah. Hamilton in P3, Piastri in 4, Russell in 5, Perez in 6, Alonso in 7, Albon in 8, Leclerc in 9, Sainz in 10, and who cares about the rest? I will say, not who cares about the rest. And kind of switching gears here, Logan Sargent did, basically tell me to, shut up and punch me in the face, finishing in P11. I specifically said Logan Sargent sucks in last week's episode, and he obviously listened to the show and
picked it up,
got that dog in him, and he P11. Great finish.
I thought Williams had a pretty strong race this weekend. Albon finished 7th or 8th.
Albon in 8th.
So I think that was awesome for Albon to be finishing the top 10 there. If we kind of talk about these teams, Aston Martin started off so strong this season with Alonso having podium after podium after podium. They've really started to drop off where they're not really competing for podiums. They haven't really been competing for the last 2 or 3 races at this point.
Yeah, you're definitely right. They're still at the head of the pack. They're still your Alonso P7, Stroll down P14. Yeah.
Stroll had some weird incidents.
Yeah, it was weird. I almost feel like if you look at the basically story arc of their season, McLaren and Aston Martin have sort of switched places. And in fact, if we look at the constructors standings, Aston Martin 181 points. McLaren's still, far behind at 59, but Ferrari's closing in on Aston Martin. Aston Martin's currently in 3rd at 181. Ferrari's closing in at 157. I think that we're going to see, and to your point before, McLaren close that gap with Ferrari. And
where do you think McLaren can realistically finish the season on a constructor standpoint?
P3.
I think that's realistic too.
Yeah, I think that's possible. If we see a continued performance like we did this past week, sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
They looked amazing.
They looked so good, and it was true pace that those cars had too. We saw after that safety car, there was 10 laps left of the race. Both McLarens put on hard tires, which was an extremely risky move. You basically had a sprint shootout to finish. Hard tires are not as fast as soft tires, but you're able to push them harder for longer, given the compound. The battle between Lando holding off Hamilton for the first 3 laps after that safety car started, phenomenal driving. But I think that just shows what the McLarens are capable of right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, Lewis had a radio call about that. He as they were
rocket ships.
Yeah, so as they were pulling in, basically doing their cool down post race, he essentially said, "Can't believe Lando kept that pace on those hards that whole time," which was just had he been on mediums, he probably would have pulled away even further. It was a risky call to go to hards. And it paid off, but that just kind of speaks to the driving ability of Lando this weekend, right? And so, that was really nuts. A couple other talking points from the race. The Brad Pitt thing happened.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
That happened.
Brad Pitt was
One thing,
there.
okay, I thought it was a little bit cooler than when I saw Brad Pitt was going to be there, I'm like, yeah, big whoop, I I saw some of the highlights. Like they actually had him walking to the grid with all the other F1 drivers.
Yeah.
So I think that could be kind of a cool shot in the movie.
Well, this begs the question: Are the other F1 drivers in the movie? Are they the like his competition?
I think it's just like there's a couple scenes where it's like them all walking up to the grid and like Carlos Sainz is there and Max is there. But
I mean,
I don't know.
But like if they are, there's no way they have speaking parts, right?
No,
like,
no,
can you imagine Max,
Sergio Perez acting?
like Leclerc, like any of them like acting? I mean, if they somehow find a way to like work it in and none of them talk, or they like AI, maybe they'll do like the Paul Walker thing with his brother.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah.
How funny would it be though if like you have Brad Pitt, a bunch of A-list like really good actors, and then just a bunch of F1 guys trying to act?
Right. If they make, I hope they make 2 cuts of the movie. I want that version.
Yeah.
I want like the real version.
I would go see that version.
I'll watch that one twice. Yeah. But no, I was wondering the same thing though. I was like, so they have these guys in the shot.
Yeah.
So like,
they're in the movie.
are they in the movie? Yeah. Or is Checo? Or I think it was Sainz. Sainz was in the background. Is Sainz playing Sainz in the movie? I don't know. I was a little. Well, they didn't do. They must have done on-track footage at some point.
Yeah,
they didn't do it in the formation lap like we thought they were going to.
No.
Which I'm honestly a little happy about. I mean, it would have been like kind of cool, but it's also just distracting, and it becomes like a little bit of a pageantry thing.
It becomes too much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm kind of surprised they even got away with having the cameras out there and doing like a full movie editing and recording out there during a race.
Yeah,
you know?
I also just want to know, how old is he supposed to be in this? Because the dude looks 50.
He looks old.
Like, I mean, I know he's historically one of like the better looking dudes in Hollywood, objectively, whatever. And I'm not saying he's a bad looking dude, but like he doesn't
50. Look like an F1 driver.
Right, like even Tom Cruise, the new movie just came out, whatever, the new Mission Impossible 6000 or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And he still looks like pretty like young and with it. Like Brad Pitt looks like a 50-year-old dude.
He looks like he could have grandkids.
Like, do you know what?
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like after you said that, like I obviously would not have noticed that, but I like saw like some, like I don't know, like my buddy sent me something on Instagram or something, and I was like, yeah, this guy is like, he looks like super old and gray. And, like,
yeah, like could
whatever,
you imagine
and, like,
if they did a podium
the
shot?
guys are just like
Right, they do a podium shot
and
Brad Pitt and Oscar
Lando
Piastri.
Norris?
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like
Oscar.
Lando. Yeah, and like they're standing next to him, and it looks like he's racing. It looks like a kindergarten cop, or like Billy Madison, but it's F1. It's just, I don't know, man. It's weird. The movie's gonna be great. You should buy tickets.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
I'll go see it.
Oh,
for sure.
we're definitely
have to go
we're
see
gonna
it.
review it. We're gonna go see it. It's just the whole thing's cracking me up a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more talk from the race this weekend. Premonitions again from the show. Ocon retired on lap 10. I called it. I said that he was going to have the yips and he wasn't going to perform this week. It wasn't really. It was hydraulic issues.
Yeah.
So the team actually had the yips, and
then
in fact,
Gasly.
right, they actually double had the yips because Gasly also did not finish.
Yeah, classic double yip.
Or,
yeah, he.
yes, he also did not finish. Alpine with the double DNF. Magnussen's car exploded also
That's
on
what
lap
it was.
31.
Yeah, that was the late safety car.
Yeah,
was
sorry. In my
Magnussen.
brain, I was confusing those two briefly. Yeah, Magnussen's car actually exploded
Yeah.
like with fire. It was pretty awesome.
They've had, I think Haas has had a couple rough goes. It's 2 DNF in a row for them. That was a tough race for Alpine, though. Like, 2 DNFs, mechanical failure. The other one, I can't remember if that was mechanical or if that was an incident that happened. An incident as a...
Incident, yeah.
But either way, like, that's a tough go for them. I think... can we talk about Ferrari for a little bit?
Do you want to talk Ferrari?
I think
talk
Ferrari kind of got caught in an unfortunate situation where they pit before the safety car, where if everything would have gone to plan, no safety car, they're probably looking at like 5th or 6th place. They got truly boned by that safety car. Ended up finishing like what, 9th
9
and 10th?
and 10, yep.
Yeah, and I think it was Sainz that was also falling off hard late in the race. I think he had 3 cars that passed him in one lap, including Leclerc, I think Albon, and then one other two.
I believe it was
Alonso. Yeah, so Ferrari they're consistently like in 5th and 6th place, it seems like every race. But they're going the wrong direction as well, too. And I think they played it way too cautious. Their team principal came out and said that we were worried about tire degradation this race. We're going for the long stints, not trying to push everything too far. But they, that was a really poor performance for Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, they're blending in to the teams that are very, like, forgettable to me at the end of a race. such as a Haas or an Alfa Romeo. Like, how much have we spoken about Alfa Romeo on this podcast?
Right now?
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah. This is the inaugural Alfa Romeo
Yeah.
introduction to this podcast. But no, seriously, I mean, and nothing against, Bates or Zhou Guanyu.
Zhou Guanyu. Yeah,
sorry. But there's just nothing to talk
No.
about. Like, they're kind of just there.
Kind of irrelevant almost.
And Haas is almost the same way. And Ferrari is slipping into this
that
zone.
That's
but
so
it's Ferrari.
sad.
We're talking about Ferrari.
Like the most iconic
Like,
team on the grid.
the most iconic brand in motorsports. Like, all of motorsports, I would make that argument. At least, well, yeah, I would
All
say
motorsports.
all of motorsports historically, I would say Ferrari is probably the most iconic brand.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
kind of just meh.
They're
at this
mostly
point.
irrelevant right now. The main reason that they're not irrelevant right now is because a lot of people think Charles Leclerc is extremely good, and they're
is.
like trying to figure out still, what's happening with him in Ferrari. But that's it. If it wasn't for that,
No, they got a stacked driver lineup with Leclerc and Sainz, but that's kind of all they're holding on to at this point, it feels like. And it's sad because I think Leclerc and Sainz are both some of the best drivers on the grid that deserve to be in a better seat. They took that seat because it's Ferrari, because you would think that you'd be competing for podiums consistently.
Right.
And that just hasn't happened.
but is the car even bad? Because they've had like glimmering moments
have
of
had
success.
moments.
So like that's what's weird about it.
But they
is-
haven't really been like competing. I feel like
But
well,
why? Like, what's the reason that they're not competing? Because it's not, the car is objectively not bad, I don't believe.
I don't think it's good enough though with Red Bull, with Mercedes.
And I guess now McLaren with
Now
upgrades.
McLaren, too.
Yeah, and Aston Martin's in the mix. Yeah, I don't know.
They should be performing better.
It's
I
weird
think.
and sad to see where Ferrari currently is.
Can we talk about Red Bull also?
Do we have to?
I think if you can mute your mic, if I can go a little Red Bull diatribe here. I like what Red Bull's accomplished. First off, I hate seeing Max Verstappen winning race after race after race. He just won his 6th race in a row, a feat that only I think 3 or 4 other drivers have done. That's their 11th win in a row as a constructor. That might be a new record. You might need to fact check me on that
Beating
one.
McLaren's record.
No, I heard that was a record.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what Red Bull is doing this season is dominant. Again, Max is still leading the Constructors' Champion with just his points alone, not even including Sergio Perez. But I think Red Bull's got to have a serious conversation with Checo as far as, we kind of mentioned this with Daniel Ricciardo earlier. I feel like they've kind of been giving Checo this benefit of the doubt where next race he'll pick it up. Checo says, next race I'll pick it up. Oh, I'm not feeling myself, I'll get it again. He had a phenomenal recovery drive last week in Austria. Silverstone, he started 16th, I think, 15th.
15th.
And made it up to 7th. You know, he's in a car that should be winning consistently. He should be podium at this track. And so I think there's going to be, at some point, I give it 2 more races. We've got, Hungary next race, and then I think we got another Spa the week after. If Checo doesn't turn this around by those 2 races, I don't think he's going to stay in Red Bull, personally.
You think during the season, you think they'll drop him during the year or by year end?
I think these next 2 races are critical
Going to
for
dictate
Checo.
what the
If
future
he doesn't
Checo,
go
yeah.
podium, if he doesn't finish in top 5 in both of those races by things that aren't out of his control, I kind of think like it's happened before. They did it with Albon. They did it with Gasly. I think Gasly was at the end of the rate or the end of the season. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Horner comes in and says, "Yo, Checo, peace."
I mean, that's kind of Red Bull's MO. I mean, they will make harsh moves and be unapologetic about it.
Especially because they have nothing to lose this season either. You know?
Well, I mean, look, Max individually is going to win the constructors.
Yes.
Without a doubt. You know, and by the way, just to kind of highlight how like savage these teams can be sometimes, I thought this was so funny. I didn't mention this earlier. So this morning, 6:20 a.m. our time, AlphaTauri posts a post on Twitter. It's 4 pictures. It's a picture of Yuki and Nick DeVries in front of this huge crowd. It's a picture of Yuki. It's another picture of them together, and then a picture of Yuki and Albon. And the caption is, "Lots of love in our Britain's instant snaps." And it's, pictures of them all happy and celebrating. I mean, look at this picture. We'll throw it up on screen. 3 hours after they posted this picture, they axed DeVries from the team and ended his F1 career probably. Like, name another
Cutthroat, man.
Right, name another sport
Cutthroat.
where that happens. I mean, that'd be like, I'm trying to think of like other really exaggerated like cuts in other sports. I guess you had like the Buccaneers cutting Antonio Brown after like some of the stuff antics that happened over the past couple years. That was one that just came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine like a game ends on Sunday,
and
then on Tuesday morning, the Buccaneers are like, lovely picks from this weekend, and it's Antonio Brown with Tom Brady and like, you know, celebrating the win, and then 2 hours later they're like, oh hey, by the way, he's gone. Yeah. We got a new guy.
And also like imagine if Antonio Brown also had like no other beef carrying with him too.
Right.
This is
just like,
you know,
this is just like, yeah, he went like 0 for 4 on targets that week.
Yeah.
And,
you're gone. Bye.
Yeah. And he's gone.
Yeah. It's brutal, man. I feel like that's the life of an F1 driver. It's short, and it also sucks for a lot of these guys because a lot of them have the chance to win races if they're in the right car, and a lot of it's just like luck, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's luck. You got to be good to be in that position.
Well, this is one of the most amazing things about the sport is it's so hard to tell how much of it is luck and how much of it is not luck because the margins are so tight. I mean, you're talking in some cases about not even seconds. Sometimes you're talking about hundredths or tenths of seconds separating these guys. And when you realize like what that actually looks like in reality, like if you see a hot lap in qualifying and then you see a digital overlay of 2 laps, and P1 is literally 40 tenths of a second ahead of P4. You know, it's really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And I don't know. I wish there was a way of quantifying like the luck factor. Of course, there are things like, you know, there's things, other people getting in accidents, people hitting you, car troubles and stuff that you can't control. But man, I really wish there was a way for us to like accurately measure that.
I would love to see just one race, everyone in the same equipment, just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Like give every driver for one race the same exact car to see who truly is going to win that race.
It'd be nice or something like that.
Never going to happen.
No, yeah. And part of the beauty of the sport
is that it's not.
Yeah. That, you know, like that is the engineering components, the team components, like all of those are part of what make it, you know, so beautiful.
Back to Antonio Brown.
Yes.
Also back to the Brad Pitt movie.
Okay.
Do you remember the Batman movie with Bane? Where Bane
Dark Knight Rises? Yeah.
Yeah. There's the scene where they're in Pittsburgh, but they're in New York. But they're like filming at the Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Steelers
stadium.
game.
Yeah, the Steelers game, and he's running to the end zone, and the whole like stadium is collapsing behind him.
Yeah, are you gonna tell me that's AB?
Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown are in that movie.
Wait, that's actually them?
That's actually them.
Whoa.
Yeah, on the sideline. You know, like pans over.
No, I know the scene you're talking about. Yeah. Also, I don't know if Dark Knight Rises was the right movie. Is that the right movie?
Dark Knight Returns, maybe.
I think it's Returns. Yeah.
Returns. Okay.
Rises is when he like.
It's the third. It's a third movie though, right?
With Bane.
Yeah, with Bane. Yeah. Okay. Regardless, I did not know that's actually them.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's how it's gonna be.
That's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt will be Bane in this, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, Bo, I hate to tell you.
Don't tell me.
Although your metaphor had good intentions, Antonio Brown quit. He did not.
Oh no. Okay, that's
well,
fair.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's for the point was genuine.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It still stands.
We've officially mentioned Antonio Brown's name far too many times on this podcast. Way more than he deserves.
Way more than Joe Guanyu.
Yeah. For those keeping score at home, we've spoken about Antonio Brown 4 times. We've spoken about Alfa Romeo once across 2 episodes.
Okay, I got a question for you, man.
Oh no.
Will McLaren win a race this season?
Yes. No, I changed my mind. No, I don't think they will.
How many podiums do you think they'll get
throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, and we're not even halfway through the season right now.
Yeah, I think we will see like year-end podiums are from here on out. I guess it would be from here on out.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we will see. If I had to put a betting line on it, I would say 5. Over under 5 more podiums by year end.
It's pretty good.
I think the line would
really
be right
good.
at 5.
Do you think we'll see Aston Martin back on the podium this season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we'll see at least 2, and I think they will both be Fernando.
Yeah, I don't see.
Here's a better question: do you think we will see a Stroll podium?
No.
I don't think so either.
I think we're more likely to see. I think we're more likely to see a Piastri podium this season than we are to see any Aston Martin podium this season. I think Piastri will podium.
Even then Fernando?
Yeah. I feel like the
That's
Astons have really struggled. I feel like they put all their investment to make a really good car these first couple races, and I think they have really not kept up with where all these other teams are performing and with upgrades.
That'd be a good bet. Who finishes? So Piastri versus Aston Martin for the rest of the season, which is essentially Piastri Alonso.
It basically is. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I personally would take Aston Martin. Yeah, but I do see that there are legs in that, I think. Sorry, speaking of Aston Martin, at what point, what does it take for Stroll to lose that seat?
He had a really tough race. He had 2 incidents. One where he basically came off the track and then harpooned into his either Ocon or Gasly, one of the Alpines.
Yeah, so I had in my notes, it was Gasly. I had in my notes, I mean, this goes back to when we were talking about his DNF earlier. It was an incident. I had in my notes, Stroll played bumper cars with Gasly on lap 45.
And then a Gasly, or Stroll had another incident too, where I think he passed someone outside. I think it was Ocon. Either way, I don't think I don't think Stroll is... He wouldn't be there if his dad didn't own the team.
No, of course. But what does it take for him to lose that seat, though?
He will never lose that seat.
You don't think so?
He will never lose that seat.
Really?
As long as Aston Martin has a team, as long as Stroll is under the age of 30 and can drive, he will drive in that seat.
You think so?
I do.
Here's the problem.
You think his dad's going to say, hey, Lance, sorry?
I mean, listen, man, you don't become a billionaire without being a shark. You know, like that's the only thing about it. Like I get it from like a father-son perspective, and I believe that his father was also a driver but never made it to F1.
Yeah.
And so like there's definitely some weird like living vicariously through your son. like he's probably
more in F1 than
swapping
any other
blood with his kid or something. There's some weird stuff going on, absolutely. But you don't become a billionaire without being a shark. So at what point is it a business decision? And it's like, look, man, you're my kid and that's cute and all, but I'm trying to make money and build a brand, and we can't do that with you being mediocre always. And by the way, like Stroll's not bad.
He's not. I think he's probably one of the worst 5 drivers on the grid, though.
He's out there, you know. Like it's I mean, I don't know. I think I'd
worst
5. Okay,
I think I'd rather have Nick DeVries than Stroll. Because I feel like Nick DeVries is a rookie. He has potential. Stroll, you've seen what he's got. I don't think he's got much.
Stroll drove with 2 broken wrists. He's got that. He's got that
we
fire,
put
man.
That into factor.
I like that. That scores extra points for me.
It is incredible what he's done.
If you're like severely injured and still like go out and show out, and by show out I mean be extremely mediocre as Stroll is, which is showing out for Stroll.
Yeah.
I gotta show the guy some respect. I don't know. I do think there's a world where he gets cut though. What they fake his death, so he goes out. He goes out a martyr. Stroll, just for the record, I don't want you to die. I'm rooting for your success. I want to see you win. Well, I don't want to see you win, but I want to see you take 10th. I want to see you get the points.
I want to see him compete with Alonso.
Yeah, well, I want to see him. I want to see you beat Piastri, so Nick will shut up. But but I'm just saying, they fake his death. He goes out a martyr. They make a ton of money off of it, and then rides off into the sunset.
All of a sudden, Stroll will be the next. He'll be on the next Titanic submarine.
Right. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Wow. Okay. One more thing for you here. Are you a Hamilton fan?
No, I mean I respect him.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan. You know, like.
Yep.
He's had an awesome career. He's done some undeniably great things. I'm not like rooting for the guy. I do have a sweet Hamilton hat though.
Yeah, well, because you told me about that today, and I was like, maybe you are.
No, it's just because that was the only version that came in black, and I pretty much wear exclusively like black clothing 90% of the time. I'm wearing my adult karting league T-shirt. This was my first season as a karter, go karts, just so people know. And Nick, as we work towards our F1 careers, everyone starts in karting. I lost to like a bunch of 13-year-olds. It was awesome.
Well, it's a weight difference. You know, you're healthy, but they're like 80 pounds.
Yeah, so that was the only difference, and it totally wasn't a skill issue. It was
a weight thing. Yeah. Diet starts now.
Right.
But I think Hamilton, I respect the hell out of that guy, but he's always kind of bothered me. He's a little bit too corporate for me sometimes, where I feel like whenever he's in an interview, he's never actually giving a genuine answer.
Dude, he said that the fan.
Yes!
What was his quote? Okay.
Yeah, they ask, what do you have to say? Like, good to see you back on the podium. He goes, first off, I got to thank all the fans. It's because of you that I'm on the podium.
No, it's the fans' reason that. It's because of the fans I'm on the podium.
I'm literally like sitting here. I'm like, fucking kill me.
Yeah, listen, dude. Listen. Okay, if you're like a UFC fighter and you're Conor McGregor and you're fighting, I don't even know, Habib.
Yeah.
And you're in Ireland, you're in Dublin, and you walk out, and the entire country is chanting your name, like, for Ireland. And you got the flag, and then you win. You punch him in the face, and his head explodes, which isn't what happened. He actually got his ass kicked by Habib. That's not the point, though. Then you can grab the mic and say, listen, this is because of you guys. You know? Only it's not how I would say it. He'll be like... I can't even do a McGregor impression. I really wish I could, but that is okay. When that is applicable.
Or when you're like you're an NFL team and your back's against the line, 2 minutes left, you're on defense, playing at home, stadium's going nuts. Other team can't even get a playoff.
Yeah, they can't even hear each other.
You guys did that,
right? Lewis, you are sitting in a rocket ship.
Car. You can't
You're
hear.
in a rocket ship, dude. They have earplugs in. And they're listening to their team radio.
As soon as he said that, I was like, "You are the."
It's just pandering. It's lame. It's just it's cliche.
It's very classic Lewis.
Yes,
he took a book a card out of his playbook, and it's, let's just say, the most BS PC thing.
Yes,
and
Lewis,
but they all ate it up.
Oh, it's the worst. Lewis is the LeBron James of F1. Like, it's none of it's genuine. I'm a big LeBron hater, by the way. Like, and it has nothing to do with basketball. I just think he is so whack. Just for these same reasons, though. It's disingenuous. There is nothing authentic about the way that they act and how they speak in PR and about their fans and to their fans.
That's one thing that got me into F1 is because of how honest most of
them are. Yeah,
like, you'll never hear in F1. It's very common for someone finishes fifth. They go, "What'd you think of the race?" He goes, "I gave it my all, but fifth is really all I had today."
Yeah,
you will never hear that in American sports ever. Yeah. You'll never hear someone say, "I'm just banking to get 1 point."
Right.
Ever. Even if you're the underdog by 50 points, you're going to go, "We're going to go out there. I think we have a chance. We got a good game plan." Haas is never saying we're going to podium this race.
Yeah, totally. And I think part of it too is, and I just kind of put this together in my head. You know how in Talladega Nights, this son is talking about Ricky Bobby, and he's talking to his dad, and he's like, "He's just a dumb cowboy." And his dad's like, "Son, sometimes I wish you had a little bit more dumb cowboy in you." Like, these F1 guys, they got dumb cowboy in them, but they're not like American Hicks. They're like posh, you know, wealthy people. So it doesn't come across the same way.
No.
But I think that's part of it. Like, I think Lewis is actually, I bet Lewis is one of the most intelligent guys on the grid. And that's part of the reason he's acting the way he is because he's so intelligent that he's thinking everything through and he's doing canned answers because he's looking at it.
Media trained.
He's looking 20 years down the line. Like, okay, I need to still be doing sponsorship deals and I need to be in commercials and movies and me and Brad Pitt are going to make Apex 2 or whatever.
7,
yeah. But like, I think that's where that's coming from. And some of these other guys are just like,
this is who I am.
I drive fast and I turn left and right.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like.
I agree with you completely, man. And it's refreshing in F1 when you do have a driver that gives an honest interview. And then when you go to the opposite where it's the cookie cutter answer, it just shows so much.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, though. That is why I would never call myself a Lewis fan. It has nothing to do with the racing. Mm-hmm. A little bit. He's kind of whiny. But regardless.
He's very whiny.
Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of covered most of Silverstone here. Unless you have anything else you want to...
No, I think we wrapped it up. I mean, that was Silverstone in a long nutshell.
Yeah. So we got 3 things right here. We got our P1 of the week, which is our best driver or best thing that happened in the race. We got our Ferrari of the week, which is biggest clown of the weekend, worst driver, worst team. And then our shake and bake of the week, best team or best duo performance. I'll start with you, your P1 of the week. Who you got for this?
Yeah, I mean, my P1 of the week, it's no surprise, and there really is no other answer in my opinion. It is McLaren as a team, more specifically Lando Norris. I mean, the guy just, or as Jake would say, Landon Neurom or whatever the hell he called him last week.
Landon Neurologist.
Landon Neurologist. I can't wait to make that t-shirt.
Landon Norris, yeah.
Landon Norris. No, without a doubt, though, I mean, there really is no other answer in my opinion. I believe he got like 46% of the vote for driver of the week for the fan vote.
Yep.
The guy just, he showed out. We spoke last week about we actually spoke last week about whether or not he is a championship caliber driver. I think that he has shown that he absolutely can be. That is without a doubt my P1 of the week.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
What about you?
I would say Landon, but also Lando. I said that unintentionally there. Lando, but I think for me, the country of the United Kingdom and Britain as a whole, they had 2 UK drivers at podium, Lando in second, Lewis Hamilton in third. I think that's really cool for that to happen at their home race.
Yep.
Hasn't happened in a long time. We removed Max from that. That's a double podium for second. But, Max did finish first. So I think I would go with just the UK in general and the double podium for the UK.
Yep. Let's roll right into who is your Ferrari of the week?
Ferrari of the week is Ferrari.
Nice.
I mean, classic. I think it's going to be them for the rest of the season. Unfortunate strategy calls. They played it very safe. Pit stops kind of hurt them overall with that late safety car. They couldn't really recover post-race, so they're easily my Ferrari of the week. How about you?
Great answer. It's only perfect that Ferrari of the week initially
Ferrari.
goes to Ferrari. My Ferrari of the week is Alpine.
Yeah.
And it's not, Gasly's was incident-driven. Ocon's was mechanically driven. Really a rough way to what could have been a strong rebound week became just a complete wash of DNF.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I'm hoping for the sake of Ocon is that because it was not like an induced issue by him as a driver, that he has confidence now rolling into Hungary. But overall, I mean, just a flop.
Yeah.
Just a Ferrari.
I'm with you. All right, this is a fun one. Shake and bake of the week. What you got?
Yeah, so my shake and bake of the week, I actually have 2, so I'm breaking the rules a little bit. My initial one is the opening, basically move and sequence from McLaren. I mentioned it earlier. It was awesome. I mean, there are not many times where there even is a setup, especially like from the start of a race, where you can actually see a team orchestrate a move to make a pass immediately. It was so great, man. When you see Piastri slide inside Verstappen and just really like pinch him down to get him off of his line so that Lando can make that pass, it was just awesome. It was clearly orchestrated. They thought it through. It worked. Kind of like similar to like a slingshot, move, shake and bake,
Engage.
baby. Yeah, it was fantastic. The second one I want to mention, and I did mention it earlier, but I just want to double down and give him credit for his shake and bake of the week, was Sargent. He had a really great race, and I think that he showed Williams' car is good. It's
good.
a mid-pack car. It can perform. Obviously, Albon has been doing that. He showed what Nick DeVries needed to show over the last handful of weeks to save his seat.
Yep.
And I don't know that Sargent has saved his seat like at year end, but for the time being, he has at least shown that he can step up and be competitive in Formula One.
Yep.
Which is exactly what DeVries failed to do.
Exactly.
Kind of hilarious that I didn't name DeVries as my Ferrari of the week, but I digress. What about you, shake and bake of the week?
Shake and bake of the week. For me, this is a no-brainer. This is easy. Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo,
Yes.
the best pairing of all time in F1, some would say.
Yes.
Shake and bake of the week.
They are undefeated as a pairing. Statistical fact for everybody listening, Yuki Tsunoda and Danny Ricciardo as a pair
Undefeated.
have 0 losses to Max Verstappen. Just something to think about.
Right now. Yep.
No, forever.
For now and forever.
For the next 10, 12 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's huge.
I'll take those odds.
Yeah, they're undefeated. So
One other thing too, I think Ferrari of the week was the model that refused to talk to Martin Brundle during his grid walk.
oh no, I missed this.
He went up for an interview to her. She gave him the cold shoulder of all time, and then he walked away and said, "Well, I'm sure she had a lot of interesting things to say, anyways."
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Anything else, Bo?
No, I mean, I think that sums it up. This was a very interesting, energetic, event-filled week.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to the next one. We'll come at you guys next week with a preview of Hungary and
Yeah.
also updates and everything that happens between now and then. As we know, things in F1 change fast.
Mm-hmm. Well, we will see you guys next week on the Effing Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the Effing Podcast. Check out our socials for additional content, and we will see you out on the grid.